CodeRed selected.
What's good, guys? It's your boy CodeRed, and I am back with another one. So listen, man. Recently, I have been playing some Guile, as you can see up in that upper right-hand corner. And it's interesting how I got to this point. Playing with Guile was a thing that I just popped up in my head, and it was due to the fact that I was looking for somebody new to try out, new to play that I had not played in Street Fighter 6. And I was going through a list of characters, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try out Guile. And one of the bigger reasons why I tried him out is because he's a charge character. Now, for me personally, I have never really played a charge character to the point of like actually maining them ever, like in any game. So I looked at it also as a challenge, fun challenge. And taking me out of my zone of like me typically and traditionally, I like playing more offensive characters, characters that have setups, that type of thing. So switching over to Guile would force me to be more of a defensive player, and actually try to like, elevate my game a little bit more, playing a more defensive style character. But then I started to really think about like why I got to this point to where I'm like even trying to experiment, especially with a character that is like so opposite to what I'm used to. And it brought me to thinking about a lot of people and how they feel about Street Fighter 6 and the state of it right now. And really just how people look at the game as maybe not as fun or boring. For me personally, I don't know if I necessarily agree that the game is boring. However, I do think that there are some problems with the game. One of the bigger things that I think is the issue with Street Fighter 6 right now is the fact that I feel like everything has been figured out, if that makes sense. With a lot of games, in particular fighting games, it kind of takes a while before we get to this point. So much tech is being discovered, so many different things, even in like 2-3 years in, like people are still grinding and figuring out things. I feel like Street Fighter 6 has reached a point to where everything to be known is known in the game. Like, and this to me in part has to do with the drive system. I think that the drive system itself, while I do think that the drive system is it's a good thing. It is a good thing. It has its good parts to it. I do think that it has created a system or a way that a game is being played to where there is no other way you can steer and be successful. Like you have to stick to the way that game is played. And the drive system really enforces that. Like, and I say that because and a lot of times when we see people in the tournaments and stuff like that, we watch footage online or whatever of the game, you see both players literally, it's almost like a rinse and repeat, right? You get the knockdown, drive rush, for the plus frames, you poke with a safe normal. You either try to pull out or suck out the counter hit, or you go into a throw, and it's like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, right? I think that has not necessarily messed up the game, but made the game repetitive and almost like a chore for people who are playing the game, right? For me personally, I still enjoy playing Street Fighter 6, but I have to find new things that keep pulling me in. This is why I'm currently learning Guile. But I think that the thing that we got to realize is that, Street Fighter is in this situation right now, but I don't know, and I don't feel like it'll necessarily be for long. Just because, when it comes to fighting games, Street Fighter is at the top of the mountain. And I think that eventually they will fix certain things and improve the game to making people want to play them, more. Because I don't necessarily think the numbers are just dropping like some games that are failing or having struggles right now. But I do think that people right now are in a state to where they're just not as into it as they once were. It's becoming more of just going through the motions, The thing is, and what I think that they could do to fix this is honestly putting more defensive options in to kind of counter certain things within the drive system. in particular like the drive rush. Like I know in the past they have done a few things to try to check it and fix it, but ultimately I think that they have to find more defensive options within the game and useful defensive options. There are defensive options in there, but of course you have things like the parry system, which people it, it's good, but it's also bad because then you run into the problem where you have those accidental parries. Like the parry system is more forgiving than in like a third strike, right? Third strike, you kind of had to really be on it to get the parry, and like have intent with the parry. Versus in Street Fighter 6, it's more random. And I've seen gameplay where players, and I mean top players, have come in and completely get blown up off of someone randomly throwing out a parry, and it just so happened to hit at that right time and mess up everything, right? So I think while I do think that, you know, defensive options are important, I do think that that would help this game out a lot. I do understand that there are things within the game that have, you know, defensive options that are people are complaining about, and I understand. But I think the defensive options should pick up, and then I think that, you know, maybe we can give new moves to the characters. I think it's about time. I think we've reached a point in the game where it's time to really not necessarily overhaul the game, but like add some new stuff to the characters and the way that they play, especially after this second season. We're about to wrap it up. Elena's the last character for this season. We're going into Evo. I think that by that time season 3 come out, they need to revamp and put some new stuff in there, new along with new characters. They need to also be, you know, new moves and new things for the already existing characters, just to make the game get a little bit of an upgrade, make it feel more fresh to people and draw people back in and get people more excited about Street Fighter. So I think that would do some good. And then too, I mean, they gotta work on this content situation where the stuff that they're putting into the game, because in the beginning I didn't feel like it was much of a big deal, and I was like, people give it some time, you know, like y'all are rushing things and y'all want stuff too fast. But now as I'm paying attention, things are coming out really slow with this game. And the thing with this game that is aggravating is that they're dragging their feet with a lot of other stuff like costumes and, you know, other things, but then they put time and relevancy to things with the world tour, right? Which I get it, it's a mode in which they want people to play more and be more involved with, so you try to encourage it, right? Because it is a big part of the game, even though people aren't really playing it like that. I understand, you know, they putting the encouragement in that part of it, but at the end of the day, this is a fighting game, and you know, one of the biggest ways to intrigue people or make people excited about your fighting games is cosmetic, right? The cosmetic side of it, the appearance of stuff. So I think that they need to start getting more with the content as far as like the characters itself. We need some new costumes. The other thing is, and I spoke about this in a previous video, characters. You know, in the beginning I thought 4 characters would have been enough. I thought that we would have been good with the 4 characters, but the more I think about it, that's not enough, man. 6 is the sweet spot. I think that we need to be getting like 6 new characters each season. It's just because of the time stretch. I mean, you think about it, whole season is a whole year, right? Normally we'll get around the summertime or like Evo time, we'll get you know, the new season will roll in, we'll know, and then we'll have a whole rotation that'll take place leading back up to, you know, that summertime. And that 4 years is just crazy. And then, I mean, 4 characters is just crazy. And then it's the lack of consistency in the time in which these characters come out. Like, it just throws you off so much. And I feel like we just find ourselves waiting forever. And you know, a new character can make things feel so fresh and so new. And it's like waiting for the time frame that we do to get that new character is just, it's exhausting. So I think that adding more characters each season will also too or help the game. And 2, adding characters, it shakes up tier lists, so you're not seeing the same characters all the time in tournament or online or popularity, because people tend to, when you put new characters in, you find new counters to other characters. You find out that you know, this character, the new characters may be better than some of the old characters, which bump them up in tier, and it just shapes up the tier list, and it makes things more exciting and more intriguing, in other words. So but that's it, man. I don't know. I don't think Street Fighter is in a bad place at all. Like, people with the whole, oh, everybody going to Street Fighter 5 and all that. Look, man, we've been seeing that and hearing that for years, and it's been happening even before Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 5 was the same situation. Street Fighter 4 was the same situation. Hell, 3 was the same situation. And y'all, we regard that as, like the best Street Fighter game. In a lot of ways, it's up there, right? But I mean, people was not as into that game, when it first came out and all that. So I think just giving it some time and letting it do its thing, I think they'll get it together. But I mean, they need to do something, that's for sure. So that's just all. I just want to talk about that, man. What you guys think, man? What do you think that Street Fighter can add, or Capcom can add to Street Fighter 6 to just improve its overall presentation and pulling people back in and making people excited about playing the game again? Get in that comment section and let me know, guys. All right. As always, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. CodeRed.
CodeRed. Selected.